everybody. My name is Mejia. So, I'd like to ask you guys a question. Mahilig ba kayo umakyat ng bundok? Sino mountaineer dito? Mountaineer, adventurer, lagi gusto mag-travel, lagi nag-travel. Photographers, travel photographers, vloggers, content creators. So, I also like to travel. I'm 22 years old and I'm from UP. I'm part of the Worldwide Fund for Nature, National Youth Council, and I'm also a National Geographic Explorer. And it all actually started, I'd like to share this story about how I got into adventure and travel photography. So it all started because of my father when I was 13 years old. I was 13 when my dad introduced me to the mountains. He brought me to Kota Kinabalu, so that's me. That's me when I was 13 years old, and that's my dad. He brought me to Mount Kota Kinabalu. But the thing is, that was a moment that I've always remembered in traveling, because that moment changed my life, opening my eyes to the beautiful world around me, getting to climb the pristine rainforests of Borneo. But the thing is, I didn't actually get to finish the climb. I didn't get to the summit at that time when I was 13 because everybody gave up. But I told myself when I turned 18, I'll travel the world, I'll climb more mountains, and I'll find a way to do so. So it was photography. When I was a kid, like, alam ko lang dati noon, wala talaga akong alam ng 13 years old ako. And it was just only through getting my hands dirty, getting my shoes dirty, all muddy, sweaty, downpoured under the rain, that made me love traveling, that made me love mountaineering, and that made me love adventure. And after 8 years, I went back for a project and I got to summit it after 8 years. It was just last December 2018, and this is the summit of Kota Kinabalu. So that's sunrise, and you can see the hikers climbing the light. It was one of the most unforgettable moments for me, and I just couldn't imagine how beautiful the place was. And photography. I picked up the camera only 4 years ago. My first camera was a Nikon D3300. And it was a starter camera because I wanted to take moments in the outdoors. I wanted to capture the adventure times, the times where you felt at pain, the times where you felt excited and everything. I connected adventure and photography, being able to explore parts of the Philippines, being able to explore different parts of Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. So I got a job in Red Bull and I used that as my allowance to travel, and I invested on photography that allowed me to travel. Photography became my passport to the world, basically. And I got to practice. I practiced every day. I think that's the most important thing if you want to be an adventurer outdoor photography, is you have to go to the places. You have to go out there and explore. Get out of your home, even if it's just near. Because ako nag-aaral ako, I study in UP Diliman, and I live near Rizal. I will just take a jeep from Katipunan all the way to Antipolo, Cobio. Then I will ride the tricycle papuntang Rizal Mountains. May Pinakayan, Mount Pamitinan, the Sierra Madre. Then you could also go as far as like Real, Quezon. I remember about when I was second year college, like Wednesday afternoon after my classes would end at 4 p.m. I would take the next bus at 7 p.m. going to Quezon, Real, 4 hours. Kahit may pasok ako the next day, just to shoot stars and camp under the beach. I got thrilled and passionate about traveling that I just didn't look back and just went on and on and on. I did a project, I promised myself a project that I would climb a mountain every weekend. So parang 52 hikes in 1 year, 52 weekends. Even if I had exams, even if I had all these other stuff happening, I just pushed myself to go out there to take photos. I wasn't looking for like the best shots. I was just trying to practice my skill in photography. And I think that was we always remember, to always practice wherever you might be or wherever you're going. So I would go to the waterfalls, practice long shutters, practice astrophotography, practice landscape photography, and just really going out there to the mountains. I was really connected with nature with that moment. So this is Mount Apo after it got burnt in 2016, and we climbed the Talomo Traverse, and I just really fell in love with photography. These were like my starting photographs before, when I was still practicing. I wanted to camp, I wanted to get out there. There are times that I remember na parang at 2 a.m. in the morning, adjust ako mag-hike. Parang magpapos na lang ako, tatakas ako sa magulang ko, tapos pupunta na lang ako ng Rizal para umakyat at 2 a.m. just to catch the sunrise. Just to catch like a sea of clouds in Mount Binakayan and Mount Pamitinan and all that other mountains. But I also tried to explore the Philippines, being able to climb mountains, other parts in Talomo, Apo, Visayas, Iglitpaco, Cordilleras, Sierra Madre. You know, I think that's the most amazing thing about living in the Philippines is that we are near nature. We're near the beach, we're near the mountains. It's just a bus ride away, it's just a trike away, it's just a jeep away. And we have to utilize this. We have to make most out of it if you want to be an adventure travel photographer. Because if you don't get out there, you won't be able to take photos of nature. You won't be able to take photos of adventure and exploration. So I pushed myself higher in mountains. I did projects and got myself to be climbing higher mountains outside of the Philippines. I did the tallest mountain in Taiwan, then went all the way to the tallest mountain in Fuji, tallest mountain in Japan, catching the sunrise in Mount Fuji, taking photos even at like 3 a.m. in the morning while hikers are climbing, and you can see like the cities of Japan, the cities of that part of Japan would be lighting up in the dark and under the stars. So Nikon was actually my first camera, and ever since today, I still use my D3300. I use an 18 to 55mm lens and a kit lens. And I think in art, adventure, and travel photography, you should always be shooting more. I've always believed in this quote, when you're ever shooting in outdoors, is shooting more with less. Because when you're hiking, sobrang bigat ng backpack mo, imagine mo 20 kilos, magdadala ka ng sobrang daming lens, sobrang daming gear, but you're here supposed to be shooting more of the place with the less gear that you have. You're here to capture the raw moments of adventure. You're here to capture nature at its purest and fullest form as an adventure and travel photographer. You don't need really expensive gear or really high-end gear just to take photos or just be an adventure photographer. Because the point of being an adventure and travel photographer is about exploration. It's about taking new angles of places that hasn't been taken or new documenting places that haven't been explored. So the cameras that I use are actually a D3300, I still use. I use an 18 to 55mm, the kit lens. Ever since in my projects, even I use it for my documentaries. And I use a 55 to 300mm just in case I need to shoot wildlife or I need to shoot really far away mountain ranges. Then recently, I got the new Nikon Z6, a mirrorless camera. And it's actually one of the lightest. It really helps me in my adventure photography and travel photography. Because it's really light and it's weatherproof, especially if you're in the mountains, uulan, magsusnow, all the elements of the weather you have to be prepared. It's really robust. And the other gear that I actually bring when I'm doing outdoor photography is these three things. A tripod for astrophotography, or tripod if you're shooting in low light or you want to get that waves, want to get that waterfalls, want to get movement in your photographs. A gorilla pod, just in case you don't have any place to put your tripod. Imagine, nasa cave ka, nasa kuweba ka, saan mo lalagay yung tripod mo? And imagine you're also like, it's super windy, kilometer winds, and extra batteries, especially for the cold. Even if you climb Mount Pulag, sometimes it gets down to as low as negative 1 or 0 degrees or 2 degrees, and you don't want to lose the energy of your battery. You don't want to lose that time when your camera suddenly runs out of battery and you miss that shot, you miss that moment in the sunrise because you didn't bring extra batteries. So these are the three things that I always bring. The 2 cameras and these 3 things. A tripod, a gorilla pod, and extra batteries. So after bringing these 3 things, I'd like to share a story about an expedition that we did in 2017 in the Babuyan Islands. We were here to document the unexplored volcanoes. We had to summit the five volcanoes of the Babuyan Islands. So the Babuyan Islands is one of the more remote places in the Philippines. and we did an expedition, a group with Pinoy Mountaineer. I'm part of Pinoy Mountaineer, and we're a group of mountaineers that are exploring and doing undocumented mountains. So we did the 5 volcanoes of Babuyan Islands, and I tell you, it was a crazy story. So imagine hauling your gear, all your gear in this tiny boat, the 9 of you in this tiny boat, and imagine if you're bringing all these other lenses or drones, but you have to make use of what you have. So we were sitting on this boat for about 6 days, sailing for 10 to 12 hours each and single day. We would be hiking the volcano, camping, going down at sunrise, then sailing for the next volcano island. It's a crazy experience, but I tell you, it was one of the wildest experiences that I've had in the Philippines. We were hiking up these volcanoes that felt like we were in the Jurassic Park. We were like in the Jurassic era, I tell you. We were hiking up these lava rocks and like hundreds and thousands of pitcher plants beside your side. Kasi yung mga insects, sobrang laki, like stick insects, praying mantis, butterflies, then you would hear birds of different raptors calling out the air. It felt like you were really transported into a different place. And we would be overlooking the Pacific Ocean at that time. So shooting that time, I only had my Nikon D3300 because the Nikon D3300, and we would be hiking volcano craters, smog, and sulfur vents coming out of the volcano. We would be chasing sunrise and sunsets, staying up really late at night in order to catch the best light that we could get in adventure and travel photography. Because in adventure and travel photography, we realized that it's not just about like going to touristy places. Adventure photography is more than just going to the next selfie place in Siargao or somewhere like that. It's about really exploration. That's the heart of travel and adventure photography. That's the heart that you should always keep in mind, because only if you push your limits to taking it higher, to different mountains, to places that no other people have been, this is where it's gonna skyrocket, and this is where you really get to feel what it means to travel, what it means to really be out there doing explorations. So I also did a recent project in India in 2017 with NorthEdsa doing the Indian Himalayas. We were a group of one of the first few Filipinos who would document the Ganges River up to its source in the glacier of Meru, a place called Shivling, and it is the high altitude planet. So if you want to pursue mountaineering further and going high altitude, everything matters. Your life is at risk. Every weight of your camera depletes your oxygen more and more. Sometimes there are a lot of people who could die. I had a teammate in this expedition, an Indian, who was already vomiting at around 4,800 meters above sea level. That's almost twice as high as Mount Apo in the Philippines. Documented and scaled one of the craziest glacier landscapes in the world. It's a place called Meru and Shivling, or called the center of the universe. The center of the universe. Because we would be tracing the Ganges River from the source, the most sacred river of India, all the way to that point, that mountain. You see this mountain, that's the mountain, that's in the background of that stars. We had to trace it all the way up there. It was a 10-day expedition up to the center of the universe, capturing the Milky Way. And what's crazy about this place is that it's negative 20 degrees. You're super high. Yung bote mo ng tubig, maninigas siya in a span of 2 hours. Everything is cold. Imagine putting out your gloves and putting out your hands to shoot a photo. Staying especially to get an astrophotograph, shooting long exposure shots. 30 seconds, mamamatay ka lang doon talaga. So the thing about you always have to remember in adventure and travel photography is the environment chooses no one. Doesn't care if you're a billionaire, doesn't care if you're super batak or super gayon. If you're unlucky in exploring. There are times we have to brave like dead winter. We did the summit of the tallest mountain in Australia.